Welcome back to video 3 of this introduction of the Arrays 101. Today we're going to be talking about accessing elements in arrays. And we're going to talk about writing items into the array, and we're going to talk about reading items in the array. And then they're also going to go over loops here. Okay, I have this code here. It's basically what was in the what is an array, that 20 lines of code. And it was just helpful to have them side by side here so you understand what the code is going on here. So writing items to an array. To put a DVD into the array, we need to decide which of the 15 places we'd like to go in. Each of the places is identified using a number in the range of 0 to n minus 1. In computer science, 1 you can think of as 0. So the first place is 0. And that's kind of confusing until you just keep working at it, but it'll make sense as you continue to learn. But just know that the first place is always 0. So whenever you want to do like the 8th place, it's always going to be like 7. It's always going to be 1 minus it. So just keep that in mind. And these numbers are called indexes. Don't worry too much about that. You're going to use it so often that it's just going to catch on. So right now, this is the code of how to put the Avengers movie into the 8th place of the array. So first, before we put the physical Avengers movie, we need to actually create it, right? We need to actually go to Best Buy to buy it, or we need to borrow it from a friend or something like that. We first need to instantiate it. So to instantiate it, it looks like this in code. In Java, you need to put the type, which is a DVD, and then the variable name, the name of whatever this is going to be called that we teach to the computer. And then here's how you instantiate it. It's a new DVD with these parameters. Now, to understand this to its fullest, you need to understand a little bit of Java syntax, and you also need to understand a bit about what this DVD class is and where this kind of came from. So in the first part, the Java syntax is that like before you instantiate a variable, you need to set the type first in the beginning. So if this was a string, you put string in the front. If this was an integer, you put integer in the front. In this case, it's a DVD. That's why it's DVD in the front. Now in this case here, we need to look back at the previous code, which was this. This was Java code that they created, Leetcode created in the previous video in the what is an array article, and this is what it looks like. Public class DVD, public string name, release year, and director. So basically 3 variables, name, release year, and director. And basically this public DVD, you want to instantiate this name, release year, and director for this. Don't worry too much about like this and public and I don't know what else. Like, don't worry about and why. Don't worry too much about the fact that there's this public name, there's this, and that why is public DVD inside of public class DVD? Because all that stuff is not straightforward, and honestly, you would have to have previous knowledge of coding to understand what they're actually trying to do. But the concept is very, very simple. And then here, they basically have this method called toString that you can call that prints out the name, directed by, whatever, etc. So the only important part that I want you to understand is this here. Name, release year, string director, and you're instantiating it. And this code relates to this here. Because as you can see, this is a string, right? String name, 2012, int release year, and then string director, Josh Whedon. I don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry. So that's how you would instantiate it. From all of this stuff, this complexity that I have just taught you or spoken, all you are doing is saying that this Avengers DVD has these properties into it. So you need to just focus on this here and what you created. Okay. Once you have that, you're going to go into your DVD collection and we created that in the previous code. And you're going to store the 7th index as this Avengers DVD. And that's it. So if you had an array and it had 15th length, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In the 8th place, it would be Avengers DVD. And then 9, 10. And everything else would be empty. That is all you're doing here in this code, if that makes sense. So, and in computer science, because the ones are zeros, it will look like this. And I'm going to take this time here to do this, just to let you know how 6, 7, 8, 9. Because I wish somebody had done this for me when I first started. So that's what it looks like in the computer code. And that's why this DVD collection is 7 instead of 8. Because it starts from 0 first. Okay. And that's it. We put the DVD for the Avengers into our array. So let's put a few more DVDs in. So what they're doing here is basically the same thing here, except they're doing it 3 times. You see Incredibles DVD, Finding Dory DVD, Lion King DVD, and they're putting the name, release year, and then the director. And then they're just putting it in random places, right? So here, instead of 3, it's going to be Incredibles. And then 9, it's going to be Finding Dory DVD. As you can see, the things that I'm doing currently right now, it's just repetitive. It's one of those things where it's like you could use basically common sense to do it. And that's a differentiating factor between humans and computers. Computers can do this stuff here, this stuff here, really, really fast and really, really well. And we can just use human language type of code to tell them to do these things. And that's going to be kind of a theme as I continue going on. Okay, cool. And this is they're saying, like, basically, if I put like DVD collection 3 and I put Star Wars DVD, but it's already there, what would happen? Basically, it would just overwrite it. That's all they're saying. Okay, so that's writing. And now this is reading. So how do I say, like, hey, I have this box, and now I want to basically read it, right? And this is how you do it. You just print out DVD collection in that place. And it'll print out this. So that is basically it. Writing and reading. Now, let's say, for example, all of this stuff, or not this stuff, but everything in this array, you want to write into it, right? You don't want to have to do this 15 times, right? Basically, delete, write something here, and then delete, write something here, and then instantiate it. You want to be able to just go through the numbers and say, hey, go through my entire box from beginning to end, and then write in the DVDs. And that's what a loop is called, right? So let's kind of take a step back and go back to understanding that arrays are a thing that you're going to use a lot in your software engineering career. And one of the most common things you're going to use is basically looping through it, going from beginning to end. So this is how you would do it. Int, square numbers. This is basically saying, hey, instantiate an integer array called square numbers of length 10, and then loop through it what are they doing? Square I plus 1 times I plus 1. Basically square it. So this doesn't even have anything to do with DVDs. This is literally them going back into like computer science and then just telling you how to do a for loop. And then they're just this is how you read items in a for loop. So I'm going to not worry about this right now because this probably would need another video, and just kind of recap what we learned from writing items into an array and reading items from an array. So in layman terms, right, you have this box of DVDs, and you basically want to store them and say, hey, in the very bottom, I want you to store like The Lion King. And then after The Lion King, I want you to store Star Wars. And after Star Wars, you want to enter, I don't know, The Incredibles. Now, humans, when we put our DVDs into our container box, we naturally don't really intuitively think to like quote unquote instantiate a DVD, because it's like it's just a DVD. We just put it in there and we don't think about it, right? But in this software engineering or computer science concepts, every single thing that you want to build in your computer or in your code, you have to define it some way. So this place here of writing items into an array, it's just an explicit lesson to tell you that you need to instantiate every single thing that you are storing inside of your box. You need to instantiate every single DVD inside of your box, right? Because computers don't know anything, right? And if we were to even, before we wanted to put DVDs inside of the box, we had to teach our box what each thing was. That just doesn't make any sense. And I think that's why computer science could sometimes be quite confusing. But if you can understand just that, like every single thing that you put inside of the array, you need to define it with the parameters, and then you insert it like this. That's all you need to understand for writing things into an array. For reading items into an array, it's just saying, hey, use this Java code, and then just print out whatever box and then what index it is here. And that's it. So if you can understand those items, don't worry too much about anything else, like the code-wise, or what is this square numbers. Don't worry about all that. Just worry about, okay, I have DVDs, and in computers, I need to teach my computer what these DVDs are, and then I need just to manually input them. So that's what you're doing here. And then I just want to read them. It's this code here.